Good morning from Pinhole Quilting, and a very cold, chilly, a little bit foggy and very frosty Worcestershire. So much so that this year Pete and I are determined that our poor little pear tree that we've had for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, Pete, we've never had a pear off it. Because every single year, because we're in the middle of the country and it gets really, really cold here, every single year we try and protect this little pear tree. And every year we have beautiful blossoms, and then after we've protected it, we've rushed out in the evening, tried to cover it over. One single frost absolutely eliminates all the beautiful blossoms. We never get a single pear off it. This year we spent one evening when we got back from work, bubble wrap wrapped around. I could hear Pete with the tape protecting it. So we've got now bubble wrap. It's probably absolutely baking in the sun now as a result. But we're determined, aren't we, Pete? We're going to get a pear off it this year. Do you think?
We'll see. We'll see. I'm not predicting.
Pears are native to Worcestershire. I mean, people don't go around all of the beautiful orchards around Worcestershire covering all the pear trees with bubble wrap. So I don't know why they survive, but our little pear tree doesn't.
This, in fact, the symbol of Worcestershire is the black pear. So pears are very much part of Worcestershire. And the cricket team.
Yes.
Worcestershire cricket team are known as the Three Pairs.
They are. 3 pairs. Work that out. There's 6 of them, are there? Is there 3 pairs? 3 pairs of 6. I don't know what it is. Anyway.
That reminds me of the joke about the Irish rugby player.
Oh, yes. What's his name? What's the name of the Irish rugby player?
I'm trying to remember his name. I've forgotten it now. Yeah.
It's something to do with trees.
Yes, it is. His name, I think, was Billy Two Trees.
That's right.
So his nickname was...
3 trees, wasn't it?
I don't know. Anyway.
Well, that joke went really well. I think we need to practice our jokes before we go live.
You can tell that we don't practice this in advance.
You can tell that Pete isn't the joke teller in front of the camera. Right. Okay. Now we've had a busy week, haven't we, Pete?
You say that every week.
I know,
but it's true every week.
This week was really, really, really busy. We had 3 days of workshops and a lot of prep in advance. And we survived. We more than survived. We had a lot of fun. And thank you very much to everybody, particularly the well-travelled people from Redditch. No, beyond Redditch. Redditch is only very, very close. But thank you very much, Susan, for coming all the way from Redditch. In fact, that's about as far as we go to do our shopping. But then we had Antoinette from Ireland. And I thank you very much, Antoinette, for letting me know that you got home safely. Glad to hear that it all went smoothly. I dropped Antoinette back at Worcestershire Parkway for those of you who might be considering coming to any of our classes. Worcester Parkway is a relatively new, it's a very new station. In fact, it opened during COVID, bad timing, but had been planned for many, many years. And you can come to Worcester Parkway and if necessary, we can pick you up from there or drop you back. And it's only it was quite quick for me to drop Antoinette and I was back in no time at all. So it's about 10, 12 minutes from here. And it gets you straight up into Birmingham, into New Street, and from there you can get to the Birmingham International and fly away to wherever your destination might be. So it's actually a really good option for anybody wanting to come here and do classes. We also had the lovely Audrey, who's got an Amara with Pro Stitcher, and Audrey and I have been doing Zoom training with her Pro Stitcher, and Audrey came for a couple of days from Dumfries and Galloway. And Mary, who bought a second user Moxie, when she and her husband came all the way down from which part of Scotland was that?
Near Glasgow, I think Bathgate.
Oh, yes. Oh, was it Bathgate?
I think it was Bathgate.
Oh, yes, it was Bathgate, because we've got some other customers up in Bathgate too. So, so drove from Bathgate, and that was fantastic. So it was lovely to see Mary. She was an absolute delight to see as well. So thank you very much for everybody who came from all corners of UK and Ireland. And we had a lot of fun doing a huge amount of learning. There were a few tired people. On Wednesday, when they came back on Thursday, everyone said, gosh, I slept well. I was really exhausted. So imagine how I felt. No, it was great. I get a buzz, actually, out of teaching.
Good, because that's the first 3 days teaching of the year. And I was counting out, we've got 21 days of teaching planned this year.
Wow. 21
which I think is the most ever.
That is, actually, Pete. That is the most ever. And it means that we're making more use of this facility. And it is a bit like the Marie Celeste, isn't it? Because we left here on Thursday and I had to regroup. I went to see my hairdresser yesterday. If any of you have been looking at the Facebook Live, you've been noticing that I was starting to look a little bit like a Shetland pony. And when I got into my hairdresser's yesterday, she does actually ride. She has horses. And I said, Jane, and I've been going to see Jane for 27 years. My hairdresser for 27 years. We kind of grown up together. She's had children and they've fled the nest. And every time I go, she and I, we catch up. And I said, Jane, look. And I literally, my forelock was as long as my nose. And she said, you know what we could do, Liz? We could plait it like the little Shetland ponies. And she got the front of my hair and she started to plait it. And she said, what we do with the Shetlands is we roll it up as well. I said, that's enough, Jane. That's enough. We need to reconsider my hairstyle. This is not looking good, and it's not going to look great on Facebook Live. So thank goodness we have a good relationship, my hairdresser and I, that we can joke about my hairstyle to such an extent. As you can see, we've redone it, and hopefully, I'm just kind of working into it. You know, the day after, you're always kind of working into your hairstyle, aren't you? But anyway, Jane, I know you watch Facebook Live every now and then, so thank you very much. I'm much happier with it now. It feels like it's my own hair again, rather than the sort of strong wind, it was sort of falling over. And the small Shetland dandy that I used to ride when I was about 12, it reminded me of good old Dandy that used to take a bite out of your leg when you tightened his girth. Okay. There we go.
Good. Shall I mention some of the people we've got
Please
online?
do.
Well, I'm going from the bottom of the list because it's very difficult to see on the phone. So we've got Joan from Chile Stockport. So Joan has a Longarm on her wish list, doing her research.
Excellent. Good morning, Joan.
You started at a good place, Joan.
You have.
And
excellent. Welcome.
If you're interested in getting hands-on, you can either come to the showroom here or we're doing classes at Festival of Quilts. So if you're going to Festival of Quilts,
we are.
That's a great opportunity too.
We are. And can I also mention, Pete, the fact that we will be announcing details of an open day opportunity.
Indeed.
Open day and try before you buys.
So Val Brooks was first online this morning again. Well done, Val. Back to your normal place.
Yeah, absolutely. Your eBay finger is in good functioning order.
eBay?
No, I just think, on eBay, everyone's very keen. And I always liken Val's ability to get online very quickly to her ability to bid on eBay auctions. I don't know why, but I just
Sandra and Derek.
Hi guys.
Lindy
Good to have you here. Lindy Lodge, fantastic.
Marianne, I hope you got home, Marianne. You had a bit of a sort of sat-nav fail, didn't you, during the week?
You did. Thomasina, go girl. Let's hope you didn't go via somewhere else. Maybe you went via Calico Kate's in Wales.
Lindsay in Switzerland has snow.
Gorgeous.
But it's sunny with Sally in Fife.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, Sally.
Jenny in Cambridgeshire. Hope you're getting on well with your new Amara. Jenny.
Yes.
And Claire,
can't wait to see some of your work on your new Amara. Jenny.
Claire Shortland. Helen Burnham. Helen says that.
Hi, Claire.
The frost has got the all those flowers that we saw when we were down in Lampeter.
I'm just thinking everything was coming out, and it's that shock to those beautiful flowers that thought, hey, we're here. This is going to be beautiful.
Judy's still in Lincolnshire. Judy, we've just got the handy quarter delivery in, so we'll be in touch very soon about your new tablet. Yeah,
the timing was perfect, wasn't it? We ran all the workshops and then it arrived. I can tell you that we'll be updating the stock system with all the handy quarter delivery that came in on Friday. Timing. And by close of business Monday. And if you would like to order anything, the best way to do it is on our website, email me when it's back in stock, and you'll automatically be emailed to tell you that it's in stock. Anything else, Pete?
No.
Okay, welcome to everybody.
Hello. I'm sorry I can't mention everyone, but
Pete's looking at a screen that's this big. Right.
What are we talking about today?
21 days of training. So amongst those 21 days of training, and all of these machines have been. Do you want to just pan around?
I will actually. For those of you who haven't seen the showroom before.
Let me just turn the light. Should I turn the light off?
I'll scoot round.
Okay.
So we're still really set up from where we've run the classes this week. So on the back row there, we've got 2 Amaras and a Simply 16, and then we had 3 Amaras in this row here, and then Avanti and Moxes over here, and some sit-downs over there. So typically we can accommodate 12 people, each with their individual long arm, for our training sessions.
Absolutely. And we had quite a number of cancellations, unfortunately, either illness or COVID. And obviously when people were ill with COVID, it was the best thing to not come. And we hope those people who weren't able to make it, if you're watching this now, we hope you have a speedy recovery and feeling better and able to get back to your full fitness ASAP. And we'll rebook you on the next ones. And the next ones after this foundation that we've just had are May. So May
4th and 5th, I think.
4th and 5th. That's the Wednesday, Thursday, 4th and 5th of May. It's the week before the Malvern Quilt Show. So it's the week of a bank holiday. And on the 4th and 5th, I'll be doing foundation. So you can choose whichever day you would like to come on that. And if you've bought a machine from us, or if you've bought it second-hand via one of the customers who might have been selling their machine second-hand, you'll have had a code. If you haven't had the code, email me and we'll send you the code. If you haven't had your welcome email, let me know. I'm afraid I do apologise to the 2 people that I skipped that, but I've let you know now, and welcome. What else I was going to just say? Oh yes, so after that, on that weekend, the Saturday, Sunday, the bookings have gone very well for Linda's classes, which are on feathers. Can you imagine a class with Linda Jackson on feathers the 7th and 8th of May? The first one is basics to fancy, feathers, basics to fancy. I'll get it in the right order in a second. That's on the Saturday. And on the Sunday, blocks and borders, fitting feathers into blocks and borders. For those of you who are here on the Thursday this week, Ruda's Feathers and Fills, I gave you a little insight into how we fit feathers into a triangle. I know you were all at that point, I think somebody said something like, that's a little bit more information than I need to know. I'd just shown you how to do a feather. However, I just wanted to give you an insight into how we make sure that a feather fills a triangle, to show you that's the kind of thing that we go on and teach, because you know, you don't, almost at this point, when you do foundation, it's almost like you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes I just like to show you, this is where you could be going to, so that you know this is the kind of stuff that we teach. If I don't give you that insight, then you just kind of think, oh, feathers, well, yeah, maybe. No, it's really amazing what we can teach you. And when people like Helen, whose quilt we posted last month, when people like Helen, Helen Burnham, who's over in Wales, had a Moxie, and she came on Linda's class and did the whole cloth, and all those other people who came along with Helen, when those people had been 4 days with Linda Jackson, and we saw that progress over 4 days, their progress over those 4 days was amazing. And we've seen the results of that progress in some of the finished quilts that have been posted. So this is what you can do. So they're one-day workshops. Some people have booked both days, and there's some places left. If the machine that you would like to go on for those one-day workshops is not available anymore, do email us. For example, one of our customers who's got one of our machines couldn't see their machine on there. Well, we've made it available. We just said, just book this, we'll change it, we'll swap it out in the classroom, because we've kind of guessed what people might want to book, but we have a degree of flexibility. And so we'll swap around the machines for you if we can. So let us know if you want to book, and we have, as I say, a degree of flexibility. The workshops coming up after that in July will be the 3-day workshop with Linda. I'll be announcing details of that coming up. There'll be an option to have like a fully inclusive, like we did for the 4-day in October, but it'll be a 3-day. So it'll come out a little bit less expensive, and it'll be a 3-day with an option to have like inclusive accommodation. I've got a couple of accommodation options, which I've worked out for you. Okay, some people will be local, so they won't need that. We've got September workshops with an international ambassador, which I think you'll be excited about. That's coming up in September. and it's the last 2 weeks in September, but we'll tell you details about that in due course. I'm not going to give any more details until I've got final details.
And we've got a new teacher in November as well.
In November, we've got, am I saying who that? Yeah. So that's with Vendulka, yeah. And that's a one-day kind of no fear free motion quilting, which is based on a lovely kind of, I suppose you could say it's almost like a bed runner. You could use it as a long wall hanging or a vertical wall hanging, and it's based on a batik wall hanging. We saw it at the Duxford Quilt Show. If you've seen any of the photos from the Duxford Quilt Show, we had it hanging at the back of our stand, and it's a really easy to make wall hanging or a table runner or bed runner, and it's a no fear thread play, one day bonder webbed, lovely wall hanging. One day for that, and then a 2-day workshop, which will be based on a waistcoat design that Vendulka is going to run here. So look out for those. We're going to, when we post details, you guys who are Pinhole Quilting customers will be the first to know, of course.
Is Vendulka's course at a weekend? I can't remember.
No, it's not.
It's not. No. Okay.
It's during the week. Okay.
So
now,
you mentioned practice, and Marianne has said, yes, practice, 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 and she was inspired by your doodle books.
Oh, good, because I was going to talk a bit about that, because I wanted to show you where I came from. You know what I found? I found my very first machine quilting piece. It's not bound. Hilda van Schadenberg would be shouting at me right now.
But none of us are very shocked.
No, probably not.
So this is antique then, Liz, is it?
It is pretty much. I am that old. This is a Thimbleberries Block of the Month club. And what I did was I used a walking foot for quilting in the ditch, and then I used a free motion. And you can see, I think the easiest way to see it is how bad it is look at the back of it. So, oh, you can see the front as well. Can you zoom in on that? The cream. Look how wobbly that is. We didn't have rulers back then. This is 1999.
It's got in the light from here.
1999. With Harriet Hargrave. This was the class when she said, by the end of this weekend, you won't be able to machine quilt. She said, I'll show you how you can.
Yes.
And then you need to practice. Let me show you the back. Here's an example how wobbly it is. The pink is the free motion quilting. Look how wobbly that bit is.
There's a bit of a thread nest going on over here as well.
Oh, it's all shocking. My first piece, free motion quilting. Trying to go straight. Isn't it rubbish?
Carolyn says, you know where to send it.
Thank you, Carolyn, my binding fairy. No, I think I should be able to bind that. Oh, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. I kept it, you see, because I can always look back, and this is what you need to do. You need to be able to look back at that and go, that's where I came from. And I have improved. Yeah, I mean, I think without rulers, it was really hard, wasn't it? You know, we were all trying to sort of do, I don't think we really thought we could do very much more without rulers then. Hey ho. We didn't have deep feet, you see, so it was really difficult. And that was an innovation. So I'd like to share with you a few of the things that when we were on the foundation class for the handy quilter owners, I want to share with you some of the key learning points that came out of this. And one of them, one of the first ones I want to share with you is, I'm just going to cut this off actually, is getting the needle in far enough. Because we had, what we do on the foundation class, just so you know from when you come, just take that out. What we do is we start with no thread in and no needle. This sorts out the women from the women, men from the men, girls from the girls. So we start off like that, you see, and we go, right, thread it all up. Put your needle in. And it's a great way to test out if people know how to put their needle in. And what we found was that people, actually it wasn't just on that exercise, I think some of it was later as well, wasn't it, Pete? When they were changing the thread. So we get people to change their thread too. And that means that they've got to change their needle. So when you put your needle in, we put it down into the hole and up. And what people were doing was not getting it in far enough. And the other thing we've got to do is make sure that we get it in the right way around. There's a long groove at the front. And if you then, once you've got it in straight.
So for those of you new to handy quilter machines, handy quilters are industrial machines and they use industrial needles which don't have a flat on them. So you have to put them in the right way around.
Yeah, am I going to do this wrong? I could do it wrong. I won't put needle down or anything, Pete. But I'm going to do it wrong so you can see the sight hole. I don't know whether you can get close enough, but...
I probably can't, but you can use a small screwdriver or something just to demonstrate.
Yeah. Let me get a small screwdriver to demonstrate.
Yeah, so if you don't push the needle right the way up so that it touches the bottom of the needle bar, then the stitch being formed down in the bobbin case area, it's going to be, the needle's going to be in the wrong position to form the stitch, so you end up with skip stitches.
Yeah, so what we've got... Oh, there's my...
And we had, I think, unusually 3 people on the course this week that did the same thing.
We did.
So if it's skip stitches you're getting, there can be a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And this is one.
So I'm happy that my needle is in straight because my little magnet is lying on the front groove of the needle. So I'd be happy with that. I'd think, oh yeah, happy days. Got that right. But what I haven't done is a sight hole on the left-hand side. And I can, look, I've got my screwdriver goes all the way through the sight hole. That's not good because it means that my needle has not gone all the way up. And that's going to make a really nasty noise because it's basically...
So, a couple of things could happen there. If you really haven't pushed it up very far at all, then the needle's going to strike the bobbin case, the bobbin hook, and break the needle, possibly throw the timing out.
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that it's only fractionally not pushed in correctly and you get skip stitches. Neither are desirable.
No. And what Pete and I found was that it made a noise. And I mean, what was good was, I mean, the second customer, she could hear it. She knew it was wrong. But, you know, this is the place to learn. This is why we do the foundation training. This is the place to learn. This is the safe space where we go, right, we know what's wrong here. And this is the place where we can correct it with you. Okay.
So yes, I think that's quite important because it's clearly not part of the course, but everybody learns from that. So somebody does something not quite right and everybody learns from it.
Yes, exactly. So not everybody needs to make that mistake in the room, but we all get the benefit. So the other thing that we found on the class was, you know, we're changing the thread, we're encouraging people, we give out a glide thread, which is typically what a lot of our customers use. Then we've got metallic thread, we've got a thick thread, and we've got a very, very fine thread. So the kind of thread that we use, Pete, could you pass me that micro quilter, the greyish white one, please? Right, this is a really fine thread. This is a 100-weight thread. And we were using this on a number of the machines. We would normally use this with a 14 needle, something like that, maybe a 12, but probably a number 14 needle, which is quite a fine needle for our handy quilter machines. But with some of the machines, particularly actually on the Amaras, it can slip out of the tension discs. And what we were finding was it just kept just pushing to the back and was slipping out. It's not a thread that we use very often, but we use it for micro work. And so on Thursday when we were doing rulers, feathers and fills, the fill bit being the bit we were doing, what we ended up doing was instead of just going once around this tension disc here, we actually wrapped it twice around. Shall I just take this out and thread it? Shall I demonstrate that?
I don't think you need to do that.
I don't think I need to do it. So basically, I wrapped it around this tension disc and then around again. So it is insufficient for it to stay in that tension disc. Occasionally, it might not be a problem for you, but if you have that issue, that's something that you can do with something as fine as this very, very fine 100 weight thread. And that worked, didn't it, Pete? That absolutely worked.
We saw that it happens sometimes with even a 60 weight thread. So the symptom is if it comes out of the discs, then you're going to get skip stitches. So there's another cause of skip stitches, with very loose stitching on the top of the quilt. And again, just taking it an extra turn around the tension assembly solves the problem.
Yeah. And it's just, individual machines, individual tension discs, it can happen. But it shouldn't happen. I still think that you should always be just flossing it up and determining whether that should be the first port of call. Most people will not have to do that. The other thing about thread and thread breaks and that kind of thing is it's rarely the thread. If you use a good quality thread, it shouldn't really be the thread. More often than not, it's because you've not done it right, quite frankly. We're going to call it pilot error. It's because you've not put the needle in straight. It's going to be because it's maybe the needle is the wrong size for the thread you're using. These magnets are really useful for that, to make sure that the needle is in straight. Checking the chart that you've got, either on the Amara or the Forte, you've got it within the information screen, or you'll have it on the notes that we send to you when you receive your machine. So that's really what you should be doing, is matching the thread to the needle. That's more likely, but also one of our lovely customers, Janet, who has probably watched every YouTube video, as she said, and she's a very experienced embroiderer. She had a problem with some of the thread and it was breaking and everything. And she'd gone through lots and lots of different things. And it broke again, but what she hadn't realized was further back in the thread path, something had become, look at this, here we go, prime example. This here has come out of this little guide. And like a good Italian food recipe, everything is in there for a reason. Look, that's pinged back in. And what she said, and this is exactly the kind of situation, if that isn't in that thread guide, it can make a difference. It will make a difference to the tension. So when you've had problems here and you've addressed them, go back and check the whole thread path. Don't assume that because you fixed the problem that you thought was causing the issue, that all this back here is still okay. This is Zen and the Art of Quilting. I'm going to rename it. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance has become Zen and the Art of Quilting. This is still going to be something you must come back and have a look and make sure that that's still okay through your tension discs. Double check, unthread from the needle, open the tension discs and just pull on that tension and double check it. Because once you've had a problem, if you don't recheck the whole thread path, you might have made that bad thing called an assumption that everything else is okay. And Janet, we thank you for that, because that's a nice little learning point that we found on the foundation. As well. Practice, practice, practice. That was one of the other things that came out of it that Marianne has also alluded to.
Yeah, you've got one of your doodle books over there, Liz. I know you've shown it before. It's just on the left-hand side of the frame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I take my inspiration from lots of people. So let me just give you an insight into, this is one of my doodle books. I'll show you some of the people I am inspired by. So this was a class with Laurie Tigner. That was one of Laurie's classes. So these are my practices from Laurie Tigner. Ovals and building on. Okay. Getting bigger and filling in with some micro work. Haven't finished that one. That's yet to be done.
Haven't really started it, have you?
No. I think that's fair.
It's just a circle.
It's just a circle. Yeah, I did a few. Obviously, I didn't. I did the circles first and then filled them in. And this was practicing my straight lines, because when you practice straight lines, it kind of makes you do them properly. So these are C curves and then little fillers in between. Okay, going round corners. And how do you do the corners? Mirroring. This is 2018, it's going way back. Angela Walters and Leah Day. That was on the way to Bangkok a long time ago. Right, and then here's another. Oh yeah, so this is when we were traveling, and this is all about actually. This is totally not quilting. This is actually using a book called Design a Lively Guide that Mary Palmer, a fantastic quilter who's won at Festival of Quilts, recommended me to. So it's taking inspiration from other areas. Design a Lively Guide is all about other things. It's about potters and it's about other creatives, and you take inspiration from other things. And this was actually things I was looking at. That was that. And then this is from Beth Ann Namesh's book, and that was in Italy. And this is what we were doing. That was me drawing. That was me not very practiced. And this is a class I did with Claudia File at Houston. She says she only works in manual, not stitch regulator, for doing micro quilter. She says it's easier and smoother, and she plays with the speed until she gets in her happy place. Okay, and this was some notes I made about the design elements, sort of combining design elements, changing the scale, changing the size, working with contrast to create different textures by changing direction like that. Okay, and these are some of the things that we practiced, and then we did a lot of hands-on. And then this is, just move on to, this is post Claudia. That's me playing with Claudia stuff, and South Africa, and Natalia Bonner, who I also find incredibly inspiring. I just love her work, love listening to her. And then that's Angela Walters, her swirls, just practicing her swirls. So and that was Sue Patton, who's a Handy Quilter ambassador, from a sneak peek class with Handy Quilter. That's who, these are all top people that I just, watch. Leah Day. Just keep practicing. That's just the main ones. I have a bigger pad that I actually do practicing on. That's my actual notes. And then I just practice on a bigger pad. So there we go.
So drawing definitely helps with the quilting process.
It does.
You get the muscle memory.
Yeah.
Into your mind.
Yeah, and thank you to Carolyn for. Oh, this is the other thing. This is the other thing is I think that this kind of pad, this kind of workbook that Carolyn, I love this, by the way. I just started using it. There we go. This has got dots in it and it lays flat, and I absolutely love it, Carolyn. Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm playing with that one, Carolyn. Absolutely gorgeous. And in terms of teaching feathers and things, this is how, I build up and teach. When I'm teaching my feathers, these are sort of my reminder notes so that I can teach my feathers. So, when you come on the foundation and the rulers, feathers and fills, if you're with Linda, she references all the people that Linda's been on classes with as well. And, we've all done classes with different people. We bring all these people's knowledge of teaching to bear here, because Linda's done classes with Jamie Wallen and Nancy Christopherson and Kimmy Bruner and with Kelly Klein, and has watched so many videos with different people too. So yeah.
Don't forget that all these world-class quilters were beginners once too. So they've been through that same process as you.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So anything else I wanted to say about that? Practice, practice, practice. No, I think that's it on that. One thing I wanted to mention actually about, I will mention this couching in a second. The other thing I wanted to mention, our phone number is, it's on the board, but we can just mention it. Our phone number is on our website. It's 01905 942 972. It's not an 01386 number. That was our old number. It's a showroom number. It's on our website. So if you've got an old number that starts with 01386, if you could change it in your phone or on your computer, that would be great, because we're not picking up during the day on the 01386 number. Okay. Now, very exciting, on Facebook, I think it was last week or the week before, somebody in the States posted this really cool technique for couching using these little command hooks. So I got them in, ready for the class. They look like this, and you can get them if you Google them. Whoops. This is all it is. Just a little hook like that. You get 3 in a pack. Okay, just that. 3 of those. And I've put one on this Forte at the back.
If you bring the machine forward, Liz,
Yeah.
you'll be able to see that better. Not easy to... I'm trying to negotiate around quite a lot of furniture here, so I'm going to go in sideways.
I'm sorry.
Don't know if we can see that, but there's a command hook at the back of the machine. So the purpose of that is to manage the couching thread. I hope you don't feel too seasick as a result of that movement.
So,
It'll become clearer in a moment once Liz threads up.
yeah, I'm going to demo with the red actually, Pete, because if we just show, because there's 3, so the couching feet come in a pack of 3, like this. You see that? And 3 different sizes, 1.5, 2mm and 3mm. And I've got these different densities of chenille. The chenille, I think, works the best. I've got a massive box over there full of gorgeous chenille like this. And, you know, when you start buying this stuff, you kind of go a bit mad. Well, Pete thought I went a bit mad. Anyway, this is this one. That's the finest one. And the medium one. You're not saying anything, Pete, which is good. It's good. Don't say anything.
One has to learn when to say things and when not to say things.
So my plan is to do a lot of graffiti quilting with this. But you know, time just keeps going. I bought it a while ago.
So Leslie's commented that she's got a machine of ours. She says she's worried that she's not good enough for a class. Leslie.
No, which Leslie's that?
Leslie Gregg. Up in Tyneham Weir.
No.
So this week, for example, Leslie, we had several people who'd only had their machine 2 or 3 weeks. And because we have several people helping in the class, we hope that you get a reasonable amount of personal attention, and you certainly shouldn't feel concerned about coming on the class. Most people are in the same position that you're in.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Yes, absolutely. So let's just talk about that for a minute, because we had this discussion, didn't we, Pete? Mm-hmm. We did have this discussion. We know where you're coming from, totally. And I have been the other side of the teachers and sat nervously as a student in the class with these world-class teachers and thought, oh, everyone's going to be looking at me. I'm no good. Can you imagine being in my position where, you know, I sell these machines and everybody thinks you can do it all, and you're sitting in a class and you're thinking, wow, everyone's going to think that I should know it. It's almost worse, to be honest. Maybe not worse. Anyway, what we discussed was this. There's a really good teacher, Kelly Klein, and she said, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. You know, you are the best version of yourself that you can be today. And it's only by embracing that moment of uncertainty and learning and being open to making mistakes that you will go forward and become better. Everybody else is feeling exactly like you. Everybody.
As Marianne has said, we all think that, Leslie, and it's the only way to get better. Go on, sign up.
Yeah. Every single person. We're all, and I think as children, you know, every child that goes into a class feels like that. We just, as adults, we don't put ourselves in that situation very often. So it's something that we're not used to doing. But whenever we're not often in a situation where we don't know things. So we're not used to feeling that level of uncertainty. But every time we try something new and we succeed, just imagine that feeling of success and that feeling of having learned something. And you're in a very supportive environment. You're with people. It's almost like this cohort of foundation learning is a wonderful cohort to be with. And they will be learning with you.
Interesting that you just said that, because at the time you said it's a supportive environment, Helen Burnham has said it's a really supportive environment.
Helen, we are just
using the same words.
There you go. There you go. So come on down, I'm going to say to you. Come on down. I've just put on...
And Jane Lake. Morning, Jane.
Oh, Jane.
Don't see you commenting very often. She says she came to the foundation course after 2 weeks with her Amara and had a wonderful time and learned so much.
That's great. Thank you, Jane. That's brilliant. So, Chenille, can you also show that when I'm stitching, how easy is it for you just to flip around?
I'll go and switch the lights off, which might help a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So we just want to show that when we're teaching to all this number of people, that we've actually got a screen, and we are going to, this screen here.
I'll show that in a moment.
Okay. So the way that we start with the chenille.
Yeah, this is important. So if you get the couching feet, which will fit on your machine as long as you've got a fairly recent machine, anything after 2014 I'm classing as a recent machine.
Yeah, actually,
you can add the couching feet.
Yeah, let me just start that.
So Liz has chosen one of the feet that's the right size for this particular thickness of chenille.
I'll just demo this properly because I wasn't. Let me just.
So she's got a gold-coloured thread on the top here.
Yeah.
Threaded the machine in the normal way.
Yeah, needle down, needle up, and pull up the bobbin thread. Okay, and then put the couching wool between the needle and the upright of the foot. Why is that not quite? Hang on, let me just do that again. That's better. And then put that between there and there, and take it over like that. And then do one more.
So you're stitching through the yarn?
Yeah. No. Just stitching down through. And then I just pull that through the foot, she says. Like that.
Okay.
So it grabs. Basically, I'm putting a loop around the wool. Do you want me to do that again? Was that okay?
Yeah. Yes, explain it again.
Okay. Let me just cut these. I've got black bobbin thread.
Okay, so I think Leslie is reassured by the comments and things that we've said, and she says she's retiring in 3 months. Well, congratulations.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So she'll have more time. And Georgia said the classes are fantastic. Not only do you learn from the teachers, but from one another as well.
Yes.
I really recommend, to get the best out of the machine, you sign up for the next class. Not only will you learn, but you'll have fun.
Yes, good. Thank you, Georgie. That's really appreciated. So
Okay,
let me do slow-mo.
We need to get the yarn through that foot.
Yeah, and I'm honestly not going to poke it through that little hole. I'm not going to do that. So I've done needle down, needle up. I've got my two ends.
Bobbin thread and
top thread. And I'm going to put the yarn, which I've chosen red, so I hope you can see it, and contrasting with the sort of gold. I put it between the needle and the foot, and then I move it to the side and hold it.
That's clearer.
With a V shape like this. And I put my hand over the thread ends as well. And I do one more, needle down, needle up. And now effectively it's looped, that yarn. And now I can pull it using the two thread ends through.
Okay, so the top thread and the bobbin thread have caught that yarn, and now it can easily be pulled through the foot.
That's right.
You'll find it very difficult to do in any other way.
You will. And now I can go needle down, needle up quite a few times. And there we go. And that's held. But the key thing here is that little hook at the back. Because if I loop it over there, it's going straight down into that.
So that That hook helps to guide the yarn down to the needle.
Yeah, that's a game changer, I reckon. It's the angle of it that's wonderful.
So this is done on the clasp. And I'll just show you this.
Yeah, this is customers. This isn't me. So now you can see.
It's not as easy to see because it's brighter. We've got the screen which is showing a live feed of what Liz is doing. We're going to be improving that system. But you can see that couching can be a really effective technique. I'm going to come this side, Liz.
And what you've got to make sure is that this just stays nice and loose and just moves around. Okay, that's my version of love, L-O-V-E. Can you see that?
There we go.
And then to stop, you just come back along the line.
And it doesn't have to be expensive yarn, does it, Liz?
No, sometimes they're cheaper, the wool. I've got this really cheap. This one is pretty cheap, actually, I think. It's a super soft polyester, machine washable one. Oh, and Jane, her lovely cushions. Jane Lake.
So Jane, who commented earlier, sparkly stuff works well too. So Jane has done this cushion, so two of these cushions actually, just with the couching foot. It's really effective.
Jane, you did those really early on as well.
Jane was a very quick learner.
Well, she's very talented. There we go. See that better now. So that is couching with that little command hook, and it just flows so much easier. I didn't leave myself quite enough space. I kind of got into that, but you can't see so well, to be fair. You don't always have a camera right in front of where you're stitching.
Yes, the camera does get in the way a little bit.
Yeah, I think...
Can't see the needle.
I'm short, but you know, even I find it does kind of get in the way of what you're looking at. Okay, so what else did we want to... Oh, Malvern. So the Malvern Quilt Show is the week after our classes in May. So hopefully, if you're thinking about coming to that show, you'll come and see us. We've got a big stand there. We're looking forward to that. Come and have a look at our machines. If you're thinking about buying a long arm, we'll have the Moxie with Pro Stitcher Lite. We'll have the Amara, and we'll have our Infinity. So come and have a try, and we'll have the Capri with the Insight table. And I think that's it for today, isn't it, Pete?
I think so.
I think so. We'll have more information about things next week. But yeah, if you need any accessories by Monday, everything should be up on the website. It's been lovely to have you here with us today. I'll be posting this up later, but we're hot-footing it out of here to be with our grandchildren, because it's Emily's birthday this weekend, who will be 3. So it's important that we get the family stuff done as well. As we all know, these things go so quickly, and they grow up faster than you can believe it. Before you know it, she'll be at university. And Patrick's probably crawling and
I hope
stuff.
not, because I hate to think how old I'm going to be by then.
That is so true. That is so true.
Don't wish it on, Liz.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I hope you have a lovely weekend and very happy quilting to all of you. Thanks. See you next week. Bye now.